it is our responsibility to provide for ourselves, to be responsible and achieve whatever our meaning of internal success is. So we are in charge of the way that we present ourselves. We're in charge of the way that we portray ourselves. We're in charge of the way how people perceive us. And I think having something outside of work to keep yourself fit, keep yourself active is so important.
Welcome to the Stroll Season 1. I'm your host, Sam Thompson. In this season, I'll work to engage in conversations that dive deep into the intricacies of each guest's unique career, while also bringing to light the reality of how each guest maintains their health in the professional culture they work in. In this episode, I'll be talking to Ben Schwartz. In high school, Ben played golf and hockey, eventually becoming the captain of both teams. Ben went on to play Division I golf at Cornell, graduating in 2023. Currently, Ben lives in New York City. He works as an investment banking analyst at Solomon Partners, a boutique bank, in the infrastructure, power, and renewables group. If you're enjoying the podcast thus far, please take a moment to subscribe to stay updated while also supporting the podcast. Without further ado, here's the very first episode of The Stroll. So coming in today, I could tell you're maybe a little bit tired. You said you had a brutal week. Why don't you maybe tell me a little bit about the week you just had?
It's honestly not just this week. It was the past few weekends, actually. That kind of ate up a little bit of my time. And that was mostly due to the fact that I was traveling a bit. I had a wedding in Miami. I was in Stratton, Vermont with some friends on a little ski trip, but that ski trip turned into a bit of a work trip. Just working on this buy-side opportunity for a big infrastructure company looking to buy some solar or renewable assets. And we were just doing some due diligence, and it kind of ate into a few of the weekends before they could submit something for their investment committee and then something like a first round bid. So, that's the job of a banker often, to be your clients give you a task and you got to kind of fulfill that, not really on their schedule.
Were you able to ski at all in Stratton or no?
I did ski. I snuck out, but that was my choice.
How was the snow? Was it good skiing?
It was all right. I love Stratton, not just the skiing itself. I mean, it's definitely a nostalgic feeling for me. That's where I learned how to ski. That's where I grew up skiing before going out west and then playing a lot of hockey. But there's nostalgia there. There's just the vibe. After post skiing, there's a nice bar where people are hanging out and there's live music, and then it goes through the night. But skiing was fine, a little icy, but I kind of like the ice.
Over these past few weeks, have the hours been really bad, or has it more been a consistent burn where there's just something to do every day, so there's no real days off on the weekend?
Just a combination of both, honestly. Yeah, a little bit consistent, but it's nice when you can see the end a little bit. That's something that's nice about, I don't know if it's banking in general or just the place that I'm at, but a lot of the work we're doing is solely process-oriented work, not a lot of random biz dev stuff. So you can typically tell when a process is going to end, and you can kind of just make it through, and then you get a little bit of downtime, which is nice.
And in these past few weeks, have you been able to balance well in terms of exercise, sleep, or have you had to sacrifice a lot?
I've definitely had to sacrifice a little bit, but that's just part of it, I guess. When work comes across, you have to make that sacrifice. As long as I can try to find 30 minutes to be active, I feel like I'm sort of keeping up with that consistency. So that's just what I look for. I don't need to go to the gym for an hour and a half or even an hour, just sort of consistency, moving my body, getting a good stretch in. Even that feels like progress to me.
This is maybe early in the episode for advice, but if you had to give advice to anybody or offer some perspective to someone considering going into investment banking, what would you say? What would you have wanted to hear about investment banking maybe before going in?
This is the classic line. It's like, just be a sponge. Take it all in. No, but truthfully, you do have so much to learn, and just understanding why you're getting into it, more than just because there's good money or because everyone does it, or like just any random reason. Know that you're going to go into it and come out with a better skill set that'll help you in the future. And it'll be daunting and it's hard, but that's why.
Are you hoping to stay in investment banking, or you hope to transition to a different role in the finance industry?
I don't plan to stay in investment banking. I'm coming up on my second year. It is a 3-year program. A lot of people stay for the 3-year. I'm not opposed to that, although I'm looking currently for other opportunities. So that's the plan.
In transitioning from playing Division I golf at Cornell to then working in investment banking, how have you kind of seen yourself develop over that 2-year period? And what are the biggest differences that you see between yourself today and yourself coming out of college?
Yes, I was playing Division I golf at Cornell. Most of what we were doing was playing outside, not as much training oriented, even though we did train. I was in a fraternity. I was going out 4 times a week just because that was the culture. I was lifting and trying to stay fit. It was important to me. But I was in this routine of these unhealthy habits that were very, very hard to break. They were impossible to break because the routine was you wake up, you go to class, you work out. Like, yes, I had golf as well. And then if it's a Thursday night, you're going out and you're up till 3 a.m., you drink. So it's kind of like offsetting the work that you're doing in the gym. It's not super productive. So I was in this pretty bad routine of going out a lot, trying to stay fit, but I wasn't feeling great. I wasn't content with how I was feeling. That's why I made it a goal of mine after graduating college, moving into the city. Even though I knew how demanding my job would be, it was a priority for me to develop these healthy habits, getting myself in a routine, being productive, making sure that I was doing the right things to feel good. And that's where I found CrossFit, because it was different. It wasn't just picking up weights and putting them down. It was functional. It was a hybrid style of training. That's how I found Hyrox and fell in love with that. It gave me motivation and purpose. And I think that's increasingly important now, especially because we have our parents there. We're lucky we have very supportive parents, but we are on our own now. It is our responsibility to provide for ourselves, to be responsible and achieve whatever our meaning of internal success is. So we are in charge of the way that we present ourselves. We're in charge of the way that we portray ourselves. We're in charge of the way how people perceive us. And I think having something outside of work to keep yourself fit, keep yourself active is so important. You want to look good. You want to be physically fit. You want to be mentally fit. It's on us to provide that for ourselves. We like that. That is the motivation that I find with all this. Is I'm so in love with the process. Obviously I see little bits of progress every day. Sometimes it's hard and I fall out of this consistency that I have, but just the process, doing what I need to do to feel good, to feel healthy is so important to me.
That's very powerful. And I think something that comes with that first job when you actually are getting paid and there is a increased sense of responsibility and accountability, I think also makes you apply that same lens to the other aspects of your life.
Absolutely.
And one thing that I really found coming out of college is coming into the city, there's definitely a very big drinking culture in New York City.
Yeah.
And as I maybe started to drink a little bit out of college, I realized I don't really honestly enjoy drinking that much. Yeah. And I really started to dial it back. Maybe would rarely have more than 1 or 2 drinks on a night. And then it kind of one day, a light switch flipped in my head and I said, hey, I actually don't need to drink at all.
Yeah.
There's no need to have 1 or 2 drinks in a night when I don't actually even want to drink. I know you don't drink much. Mm-hmm. How has kind of that mindset shift occurred in your brain?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard, especially because in addition to there being such a big drinking culture, there's still a culture of going out very late and then staying out late, which is hard when you want to get a good night's sleep as well. But on the drinking side, No, I experienced the same thing. I mean, I would go out and have a few drinks, and I would not feel good in the morning. Even one or two drinks would completely offset the way that I felt, and I just wasn't happy. Like I want to be waking up and firing on all cylinders. So I experienced the same thing. I mean, leading up to the Hyrox race that I was training for, I didn't drink for a few months beforehand, and then after the race, it kind of just came and went, and I was like, I feel good. Like I don't need to change anything. I have been able to master going out, socializing with our friends, and not feeling like I need to drink, and being motivated to do that. And I think it's played out really well.
Another thing that was almost a parallel shift for me as well was sleep.
Yeah.
I think in college, I really had a lot more opportunity to sleep. And what I mean in that is if you had class that ended at 11 and then classes started at 1 and you got a shitty night of sleep, you could just go back to your room, sleep for an hour and a half, and then get on your way to that next class.
Yeah.
Whereas now when I was working at McKinsey, it was maybe from 8 a.m. to midnight. You are up Monday through Friday, or not on Friday, but till Friday at 7 p.m. And then, however much sleep you're able to squeeze in is however much sleep you're able to squeeze in.
No, it's a tough balance there, especially when you want to work, a little workout into your schedule as well. There's a little bit of give and take, where one night you're like, do I really have to wake up at 6 a.m. to work out? Like, no, I need these few hours of sleep. Like recovery is more important to me right now, because you want to perform your best. You gotta sleep. You gotta recover.
What's your goal in terms of how long you'll sleep every night? And do you have a sleep score goal as well with the Whoop?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at it religiously, but it's definitely something that I pay attention to a little bit. There's no real number that I look at, or I guess with the recovery, but yes, with sleep, I would say 7 to 8 hours would be awesome. That would be amazing, and it's hard to come across sometimes. But part of that's due to me, just like, we've developed bad habits being on our phones, and sometimes you just got to put it down and read and pick up a book and read to get your headspace out of that zone.
And in balancing your other hobbies, interests, exercise, sleep with investment banking, how do you find yourself spending most of your time outside of work?
Outside of work, it's solely staying active. It's funny, I'm just thinking about when I'm on a date and we're talking about hobbies, like what you do outside of work. For me, I'm driven by just physical activity. That's, I think it's nice to read sometimes, to go on walks, but what allows me to completely separate from my job in the best way is putting my body through something difficult and dialing in on that process and having something else that motivates me really well, that's how I can sort of fully escape from work.
So you play Division I golf at Cornell. How has the way that you trained, whether it was strength and conditioning or actually on the golf course, impacted the way that you exercise and train today?
Most of the work that we did in the gym at Cornell was basically mobility, strength, like that type of strengthening, not necessarily trying to lift the most weight and potentially get injured. It was centered around mobility, not extremely endurance based. That's a lot of the work that I do now. But the biggest focus we had in college was on mobility, flexibility, strengthening your core, because that helps with your golf swing. Not necessarily physical.
Do you feel like that you're either stronger or more mobile today than you were in college, or do you think your college self would outperform yourself now?
It's interesting you say that, because I kind of started lifting in college and I didn't understand the importance of stretching and retaining that flexibility that I had when I had less muscle. And it kind of hurt my golf swing a little bit. Like I noticed it. So I would say that in college, my mobility was worse than it is now. Maybe I was a little bit stronger, pound for pound, maybe a little bit heavier, but I wasn't really comfortable because all I was doing was lifting. It wasn't like outside of what we did for golf, I was just lifting. I would definitely say I'm stronger now because mobility and strength go hand in hand. You can't build one without the other, or else you'll plateau. You need to focus on both.
And what do you do to train your mobility and strength now? Are there specific type of workouts you like in terms of mobility or strength?
I've gravitated towards more full body workouts. Yes, there are some days when you're just like, I want a good pump. Let's just hit arms. Just like have fun with it. You know, you're feeling a little tired. You don't want to put your body through it. You're like, let's get a good pump. No, nowadays it's definitely more of a full body workout, more focus on endurance as well. Sort of like the high intensity type of training, that functional training, burpees and wall balls and rowing, all that fun stuff.
And are you still doing Hyrox? I know you were
Yeah.
doing that earlier in the year.
Yeah, so I had a race in November in Chicago, and I have bought tickets to two other races. One is in Miami in April, and another in New York, Memorial Day weekend. So
But you had told me previously that you actually placed out of your current age group for the one in New York. Or you still?
the story is I wanted to do it with a buddy of mine because they have the opportunity. They have singles races and they have doubles races. My age group is 19 to 24. My race is on the 31st, I think. And he turns 25 on the 30th.
Wow.
It's like the craziest thing ever. We're not racing together. I'm just going to do singles on my own.
And
So
for
he
the
placed
people listening who don't know what Hyrox is, do you want to give maybe the 30-second spiel on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So Hyrox is a functional race that incorporates both running and functional workouts, such as using the ski machine, like the ski erg, the rowing machine, sled pushes and pulls, wall balls, weighted walking lunges, burpee, broad jumps, and some farmer's carry. It's a quick race. If you're good at it, it takes you around an hour or so. Obviously, people who are good at it want to perform in a very short time, and they put their body through hell because you're going nonstop. But anyone can do it. It's very inclusive, and I think that's why it's gained so much popularity. Yeah.
And how many exercises or kind of portions of the race are there?
Yeah. So there are 8 different exercises, and in between each exercise, there's a run. So you run, then you do one of the exercises. Then you run again, then you do another one. So you do that 8 times through the exercises that I mentioned before. You end with a whopping 100 wall balls to like a 10-foot surface or plate. It's tough. It's excruciating. I mean, my race in Chicago was the most difficult thing I think I'd put myself through. I trained a lot for it. I actually got hurt a few weeks before, kind of tore my calf a little bit just from overtraining. But I really wanted to do it. It's actually funny. I had a work call scheduled during the race.
Did you just skip the work call?
I told my VP, I was like, listen, I have this race. He's like, yeah, you're fine. Like, we'll cover you. But I was so upset. It was tough. So mentally, I was going through a lot leading up to that race with work. There was a lot going on, but I flew to Chicago with my parents, and yeah, it was a great race. My friends are running an ultra.
Wow.
It's called Rim to Rim to Rim. It's 42 miles across the Grand Canyon.
Oh my
in
God.
one day. And it's the week after my Hyrox in Miami, so I'm tentative.
I don't think you're making it.
I don't think I am either, but I really want to. I think it would be so fun, but you know, I want to be smart, and I want to make sure that my body can handle it. So I'm not just going to throw myself into it. You know, I got to up the mileage a little bit and then see what happens, but I'll try to prepare for it. We'll see.
What's your favorite part about racing or that environment?
My favorite part, it's just for me, there's no one exercise that I love more than the other. There's obviously it's a great vibe. There's music playing, there's it just blasting through the entire arena. My parents are standing 2 feet in front of me while I'm going through all this stuff. the thing for me was that I dedicated so much time to training for this. I spent countless months doing it without even training for a race. This was before I even signed up. I was just putting myself through it. I was like, I feel good when I do this. Like, so then I signed up. I was like, I got to put this to the test. I need to show everyone. I talk about this every day when I speak on the phone with my parents. Like, they need to see what I've worked so hard to do. Like, this is so important to me. So it was more than just the race itself. It was everything leading up to it. It was the process, me not going out on Friday nights because I was dialed into waking up early on Saturday to train for these races. That was so important to me.
And looking back at your preparation for the first race, is there anything that you would change in how you approach these next two races?
Absolutely. It's a running race, and I didn't realize that. I don't love running. I ran cross country freshman year of high school because the coach was the biology teacher. I wanted to get a better grade. That was about it. But I never really enjoyed running. And this race, although there's so many other factors incorporated into it, it's a running race. You're running for half the time, and that's where you make up the most time in your running. So I'm trying to put more of an emphasis on my running. So that's been the goal.
And what's the distance of each running leg in the race?
Each running leg is 1 kilometer. Yeah. 0.62 miles, I think. That's the conversion. So it's like just over 5 miles total. Doesn't feel like a lot, but when you go from doing burpee broad jumps, like 80 meters, takes you like 2-3 minutes nonstop, and you have to go straight into a run and be expected to run it as fast as you can. And after that, then have to go into like a row. It's excruciating. You have to be able to train yourself to basically work at 90 to 100% of your max heart rate without getting tired. So there's that muscular endurance aspect that's so crucial.
And how are you tracking? Do you have a chest strap for your heart rate, or are you using the Whoop? Or
I use my Whoop. I'm not tied to it, honestly. And that's one issue with my training is I'm not a super technical guy. I'm a very feel guy. Like, I do it based on feel. Like, yeah, I'll time myself maybe sometimes, but I just sort of feel like if I do everything that is like all these workouts and what's required of me, the result should be positive. But I think tracking is a very important thing to do, and I could do a better job with that.
Are you ever tailoring your cardio towards zone 2 and then zone 5 interval training, or?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly it. No, week to week when I'm going on runs, it's staying in zone 2, and it's frustrating sometimes because, for example, I was traveling for the past few weeks. I was out of this routine that I had. I went on the treadmill earlier this week to just run in zone 2, and I couldn't keep my heart rate down. I just kind of fell out of it a little bit. But then I ran on Wednesday, and I was running, a full 1.5 miles on the treadmill, like the number faster than on Monday, and I was able to keep my heart rate lower. It was weird.
That is very odd. I like to do my zone 2 training on a reclined bike rather than a bike where you're in the saddle. And I actually find the most interesting thing is the build up to get kind of your heart rate into zone 2. I use a polar chest strap.
Yeah.
And I find that I almost need 5-7 minutes to actually get my heart rate up into zone 2. And then I can just keep it there at that same pace. Mm-hmm. But right when I get going, I'm at a 12 resistance on the bike that's in the building. And going at that at about, I think it's around 75 rotations per minute. Yeah. Going at that, it takes me 5 to 7 minutes to get into zone 2, which I find interesting.
And then you hop on the treadmill?
No, I'm strictly on the bike.
Oh, you're on the bike.
When I run, I like to run outside. I'm maybe a quarter, half mile from Central Park, so I'll run through Central Park.
Cool.
It is cold, but it's also, I think, very tough on your knees to run.
Yeah.
So almost tailing, less running in the winter, maybe a little bit more in the summer.
Yeah. Just
to be able to enjoy the weather without going out on a run in this weather is pretty brutal just in that. And then also if it is slippery, it's maybe a little bit more dangerous as well.
The interval training is fun though.
Yeah, it is really tough because you want to exhaust yourself after, 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And does your Whoop say you're getting, I think, into zone 5 ever? Because what I've found is that it's really, really, really takes a lot to get to zone 5. And if I am in a 40-minute interval workout, maybe I'm in it for like a minute or two. Uh-huh. Does your Whoop give you any interesting insights?
I get up there. Definitely more zone 4 for sure. I think it's pretty hard to get to zone 5. But I found myself there. I mean, some of these workouts I'm doing, I can't see straight. I'm just ripping it. I don't know where I am.
Have you ever fainted?
No,
Okay.
no, never fainted.
Yeah.
Never fainted. I've thrown up once though.
Okay.
No, never.
Was the throw up because of the workout or because of something you ate before?
I think I drank electrolytes too close to the start of the workout, so it was like sitting up here, and it needed to come out.
I remember as a kid at some basketball practices, I would sometimes feel like the coach would be making us run suicides. Maybe we have 2 or 3 in a row, and only one person throws up. I always in the back of my mind, it's probably something they ate.
Yeah. Yeah.
You obviously are running very hard, but to throw up from working out purely because of the difficulty of the workout, it had to be really, really intense.
Oh yeah, love it though.
Yeah. And we've mainly discussed, I think, work and then what you do for exercise. What other hobbies do you like to pursue in your free time, whether they're here in the city or things that you could do anywhere?
Yeah. Hobbies that I have include hockey. So I play ice hockey and roller hockey. I played with our friend Aaron in a roller hockey league this um, this fall, and it was really fun. And outside of that, I love music, house music. That's my passion. I try to produce sometimes. I DJ a little bit, like everyone else these days. It seems like everyone DJs.
The investment banker to DJ pipeline is so strong.
It's so strong. Yeah, really, really unique. Outside of that, I mean, just hanging out with friends. I mean, it's hard to find a lot of free time for all these hobbies. And like I said before, when I find free time, I'm doing what makes me happiest, and that's just getting active.
You mentioned that you enjoy music and that you DJ. How important have you found those outlets outside of work to be in terms of not only for your health and happiness, but also for your performance at work?
It's instrumental. That's a great point. I was talking a little bit about finding an escape from work, but you made a good connection as to like how that then contributes to your work in the long run. It's sort of cyclical like that. And I think that's why there's like an increasing importance in banking, capping hours at a certain threshold. You're not going to be motivated to work hard if you're working 100 hours a week. I find that when I have these certain weeks that are really demanding and tough, I'm not my happiest. I'm getting through it. But it's not a great feeling, and I'm like, oh, like I gotta leave, I gotta get out of here. But then there's a weekend when I'm not looking at my phone, and there's no one bothering me, and I come back on Monday, and I'm a completely different person, and I'm like, all right, what's next? I'm back.
And the crazy thing is that the hours cap, while it is such a difference maker, is still pretty high. It's not like that's not working very hard or that many hours. So,
I was talking about it with a friend today. It's, I think, 80 for a lot of banks. I mean, think about it. Like, if you work 9 to 12, which is pretty crazy, like, that's what?
It's only 15 hours
15
a day.
15 hours, only 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
15 times 5, 75, like 5 hours on the weekend. Like, that's still a pretty bad week. And
those were like my worst weeks at McKinsey.
Yeah.
And it was all confined Monday through Friday, which is it's nice knowing you're gonna have a weekend, but then when you add in the travel on top of that, and you're flying out Sunday night, and then you finish at Saturday or Friday night, Saturday early morning.
Yeah.
That's a very short weekend, and it's hard to even sleep sometimes, which is interesting. Sometimes work is so stressful that if you could put your head on the pillow and then wake up 7 hours later, you're not going to fall asleep immediately.
No,
it
your
might
head's
not be.
not there.
Yeah, you might be restless, and then it's kind of almost a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting more sleep throughout the rest of the week, and then you come out on Friday like.
Especially staring at your computer.
Oh my God.
In a dark room at like 3 a.m. And then putting your head down, you close your eyes and you're like, it's white, you know? It's like I'm still looking at my computer.
Exactly. Yeah. The worst I always also found was when the sun was setting on a really nice day.
Yeah.
And you realize, wow, I'm not going to be outside today.
Well, especially in the winter. That's every day at 4 p.m. But
That's true.
I know what you mean.
But when it's nicer, I find a little bit of more of a pull to actually have been outside.
Yeah.
Versus when it's in the winter, it's you're not longing to go outside as much.
Yeah. I mean, I've had an experience where, I don't know, every bank is different, but we as a boutique bank are responsible for the in-house tasks that, like printing books, for example. If I make a book and my director is flying out and needs 20 copies of that book, I'm in the office printing those books, binding those books, crimping them. Like, I'm doing that on hand. I've had an experience. It was me and an intern, actually. Like, imagine being an intern. This happened. Like, we started printing at 3 a.m. in the office, and it's just me and him, like, getting to know each other a little bit. We leave the office at 5 a.m. I get into bed and I look out my window. You hear the birds chirping.
Oh my God!
This is like on a Wednesday. You're like, oh, it's still like middle of the week. Like, still got a full. Like, he somehow ended up in the office at 9 a.m. because he's an intern. It's a little bit more. I strolled in a little bit later, but not a great feeling, and it just throws off your sleep schedule. I mean, you lose 6 hours of sleep, and we're not taking naps during the day. It's not, and taking naps. I'm not a proponent of that anyway. No matter what, I think it screws up your sleep cycle. It kind of gets you back into a sleep cycle in the middle of the day, and it kind of screws it up a little bit. So I try never to take naps. It
is really brutal coming back into work after a bad night of sleep,
and everyone can tell too. Yeah. It's like a little scruff on you, your eyes are baggy, you're like, you had a night, like you went through it.
No one ever said it to me, but I remember with one of my managers going through a tough time, one of the partners came in and just said, I don't want to see anything. It's a classic thing. They'll say, I don't want to see anything from you, past 9 p.m. I want you sleeping. But with the amount of work we have to do, that's just the work wouldn't get done if we were logging off at 9.
Exactly.
I want to try this beverage sitting here.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you want to tell the viewers about our very first sponsor, if you will, for the podcast?
This is Leisure Hydration, a beverage company that was started by my dear cousin, Steve Michelson, and his brother. It's a non-carbonated hydration drink, all natural ingredients, low calorie, beautiful can.
The can is very beautiful. To be honest, if I was looking at this, I could maybe think it was a alcoholic seltzer.
Yeah.
But it is probably the furthest thing from that.
The non-carbonation is an interesting part too. I mean, I know a lot of electrolyte drinks are non-carbonated, but it's really tasty. I think we should tuck in.
Yeah, let's see it. Sure. Let's hear about this crack open as well.
Is this like ASMR?
Huh.
So I have this lemonade flavor. There's also tropical mango, and what do you have over there?
I have wild blueberry. I think it's better than vitamin water. That's my kind of my anchor here looking at this nutrition facts.
When I talked to Steve, he was like, we wanted this company to sort of like replace vitamin water. Like vitamin water, I drink vitamin water all the time. It was great. It was like a healthier Gatorade in a way. Like that's how I always saw it.
Yeah.
But it's a little outdated. This is kind of new, young, fresh.
Yeah, there's not as much sugar in here as you see in a lot of other drinks too.
Yeah, no, and it's completely natural.
Yeah, I think if I saw this sitting next to vitamin water in the store, I would definitely go for this. I mean, it's interesting. The second I tried it, I thought has a lot of sugar in it. And with only 5 grams of added sugar, I feel like, yeah, there is a little bit of added sugar, but that's not a crazy amount for the things you say.
Yeah, no, not a lot of sugar at all. It's very simple drink.
And what was their approach in terms of how long did it take them to get this to market? How long were they maybe testing the product and doing the design and branding? Because that is a very aspirational goal to replace vitamin water. That's a very big brand.
Yeah, it's an aspirational goal just to enter like the food and bev industry, especially like health and wellness. There's a lot of other competitors there, but they've seemed to find a lot of success so far. It was something that I know they've been working on for a really long time. They've, I think, sort of perfected the drink. I'm sure they've gone through a lot of trials and all that, but I think they've done a really good job at making it happen.
It is really fascinating when you think about starting a company, at least at this age, let alone in such a competitive space, to see how things go.
Yeah.
I doubt this podcast will do much to blow it up. Kudos to the podcast if it does. But who knows? Maybe, in 5-10 years, they've gained a lot of traction and have made much larger inroads to the market.
Absolutely. Leisure hydration. Do you know, buy some.
Do you know where you could buy this or no?
Yeah, you could buy it on Amazon.
Okay. What's the pricing like?
It's like $30 for a 12-pack.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little honestly pricey when you think about what you're getting at the supermarket.
Yeah, I think they're working on getting into Whole Foods.
Yeah.
They've been in Erewhon, I know.
So maybe transitioning from what we just drank to what you typically eat.
Yeah.
What do you typically eat in a week, and how do you find yourself approaching nutrition when you have a really brutal day on the job?
Yeah. Nutrition is easily the most important thing to me. It is crucial to me to feel good. I just want to feel good all the time. And I know that the biggest indicator of that is what I'm putting in my body when it comes to food. So I guess like a typical day of food for me is wake up, make some eggs, maybe like a yogurt bowl or a shake, some avocado, piece of toast. Got to get your carbs. And then lunch is typically the same thing, maybe like ground beef and rice and veggies, or salmon, chicken, and veggies. Same thing for dinner. And then maybe a shake or a bar or two in between. First thing in the morning, drinking electrolytes every morning. I find that really helpful for me. That I found is a great regimen that keeps me feeling healthy, feeling awake, not super lazy, and also gives me enough energy to carry on through my workouts. When it's a really brutal week, I do often meal prep, or I try on a Sunday night to just bang out a few meals and put them in the fridge. I find that to be the most helpful. I also think just having bars and nuts and stuff like that on hand is really helpful.
And what's your meal credit at work like when you're, in the office past 8?
It's $35 for a meal, which I don't know. You don't need to be spending more than $35. I mean, there's definitely a category of food options that you can get with $35 that if you had 50, it would be a little bit different. Like you can get some like real meals.
Yeah, we got 60, which was great.
Damn.
Yeah. I found the issue though was not in quality of meal. I found that if I went with a higher quality meal at 60 for the size I am and actually how much I wanted to eat for dinner, I actually would probably need to, what I would do is get 2 bowls or like a salmon and veggie bowl and just get 2 of them.
Yeah.
So I was getting as much protein as I wanted and as much veggies as I wanted. Whereas, yes, I could have spent 60, but then realistically, I'm not going to really be satiated for the night. And then at like 11 after work, 11:30, I don't want to go and eat, another big meal. I'm going to work out and go to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I had 60, I would get 2 meals and just use one for lunch the next day. Like,
I avoided that because I thought it would always it just wouldn't look great optically using your dinner credit for lunch.
You're a respectful man.
Yeah, and I mean, I would never do this. I also didn't live close enough to the office to do this, but I've always heard stories about people who will live near their work will actually, on nights where they're not there late and wouldn't necessarily get the meal credit because they're there late, will go back to work, swipe in, use their meal credit, eat at the office, and then go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn. It's crazy.
Tough world out there. You 2-peated in our home fantasy football league, went for a 3-peat this year. What held you back this year? What prevented that ultimate victory for the third year in a row?
Nothing held, and it wasn't just me.
Interesting.
There was a co-owner of the team.
Oh, interesting. But like
Simon Crone.
Was the co-owner as involved as you, or who's making more decisions?
No, there was equal involvement.
Interesting. So like 50-50 exactly?
50, maybe like 45.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. 50-50. I don't know. When I draft fantasy teams, I love. There are guys who perform very well every year. I like the vets. I like guys like Mike Evans, Kamara. Like these are guys who they've been around for a bit, but they produce. Demont, like he does well. But Kamara getting injured, that's what did it for us.
Interesting.
These guys, it's hard to make it through a full season, and our bench is never deep.
I was actually thinking this season, as you guys were going for the three-peat, I think fantasy football is a little bit of a toss-up.
I think it's a complete toss-up, and there is no explaining how we made it to the finals 3 years in a row.
But I, for a few years, actually did make the finals 3 years in a row and lost every year. Or it was like semis, finals, and lost every year. But
you're always up there, though.
No, we've fallen off recently. But I was saying it's like 1 in 1,000 chance when you think about like a 1 in 10 basically dart throw to three-peat. Yeah. And you guys were about to do it. I was like, holy shit, maybe there's something in the water.
Yeah, this league's been around for a while. There's a part of me that's like, I came for vengeance. Like, I was not included in this league. I joined this league. Where am I looking? I joined this league 5 years ago. 5 years ago. I've won 3 times. Almost 4 out of the last 5 years. Maybe 6 years. You say B2B, but we won before we went B2B. You know that, right?
Yeah, that was your second and third championship. Yes. Yeah.
There's been another. There was another 2 years before.
And was that the year that Simon missed the draft and didn't choose anybody on the team? That was the first time you guys won?
I believe so.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
It changed the dynamic a little bit, At the end of the day, it's, who's the guy setting the lineup before each game? Is it me or Simon? We both know the answer to that.
Wow, I love that I captured this. And what do you have on tap for the rest of the weekend here in the city?
Rest of the weekend, tomorrow I'm waking up and running. My friend wants to run a half around Central Park tomorrow. I may join him. It's going to be cold, but I'd like to. Saturday, I got a date.
That's lovely. Where are you going?
I have no idea. It's a day date.
Oh, okay.
We didn't even talk about this, but working dates around not drinking it's not that easy.
Oh, and impossible.
Especially in the winter, you can't just go on walks and stuff. Like most of the time you're going out at night. I'll figure that out though. And then Sunday I'll do a Hyrox class and just hang out with friends. Nothing crazy. I mean,
nothing for the Super Bowl. We're watching the Super Bowl together.
I forgot about that. Yeah. I'm so not plugged in. It's terrible. Once the fantasy season ends, that's the truth. I'm not a football fan. I don't know anything about football. It's just fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't even have a team.
Thank you to you, Glue Guy, for coming on this podcast. Now, not once, but twice. Truly in Glue Guy fashion.
Thank you for having me. It means a lot to me that you see me as someone who has these healthy practices and is trying to balance a lot of things in their life and hopefully doing a good job. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate that, and I value that as a friend. And I'm also very proud of you for stepping out of the corporate world, doing something that you actually find more passion in based on where we're from and our backgrounds. There's a clear-cut path that a lot of people take in the professional world, whether it's going into consulting and banking and then on. And it's been really cool to see you sort of diverge from that path. And I know that the future is going to be great, and I'm excited to see what it holds for you. And I'm going to be there every step of the way.
As you can tell, Ben is the man. And I think if anyone has the legs to run far in this world, it's him. I'd like to also express my gratitude towards him for coming on the podcast. Thank you, Glue Guy. I really appreciate you. Additionally, thank you for listening to this episode of The Stroll. If you like this episode and would like to be in the loop for future episodes while also supporting the podcast, Please subscribe here and follow the podcast on social media for updates. The podcast is active across all major social media platforms, including YouTube, and our handles are either the Stroll_podcast or the Stroll_pod. I'd also like to take a moment to thank BB Thompson, Saul Thompson, and Liz Jarecki for their support in bringing the podcast to where it is today. Lastly, thank you for listening.
Good night, San Diego. What was I saying?